Hello, thanks for being here. Great to see you, or for you to see us on this Wednesday. We're gonna let everyone just kind of trickle in here as Zoom is letting folks in. Hopefully, you're having a good start to, well, I guess most of you are midday, a good midday. It's the start of my day. But it's lovely to see y'all, to have you here. We're really excited to share some of the things that we have been creating here at the EdTech Leaders Alliance. It has been a productive winter slash spring at ETLA, and we kind of geeked out on some stuff, as it were. And we're just so excited to share what we've been creating with you, what these tools look like, share them with you, use them in your schools. We're going to get into all that. But because I often get squirreled and forget to come back to things, I want to make sure I get our announcements taken care of so you know all of the things that we have coming up here at ETLA. The first is on May 12th at noon Eastern Time. Kevin Gantos, our CEO at Learn 21, is going to be doing a webinar on agentic AI. One of our resources relates to agentic AI. So if you look at that and you're like, wow, this is really interesting, I'd love to know more, come to our webinar on, I believe, Tuesday, May 12th, at noon, to learn more and learn more about resources that we have related to that. We also are starting to gear up for our conference, which is coming up in October. If you want to register, you can do that. You can also, I'm typing in the web address. There we go. You can also plan to submit a proposal if you haven't done so already. Our second round for proposals will be open May 15th through June 15th. You can learn all about the conference. Our theme is magic and the teamwork, which is super fun. And just the proposals we got in round one were really engaging and really collaborative, and we're getting really excited for the conference and everything that we're going to have offered for you there. And if there is anything that you want to know about for ETLA, you can learn more at our website, edtechleadersalliance.org. I'll put it in the chat here in a second. That one's longer and I can't type and talk at the same time. So I'll do that here in just a second. And we also have a really wonderful opportunity for the fall with our EdTech coaching cohort. You can learn more about that. Thank you, Danny. Danny's got my back. You can learn more about our EdTech coaching cohort, sign up for it, read the syllabus and everything that's offered through there on our website that Danny just put in there too. I think those were my major announcements, and it gave people a little bit more time to get here, so that worked out great. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues here at ETLA who've been doing a lot of this work, and they're going to just have some fun showing you what we've been creating. We love it when you use the chat to ask questions, to share maybe as you're looking at a tool how you might use it in practice. So feel free, chat away. I will always interrupt these folks. They'll be okay with that if there's a question or anything like that that they don't see. So feel free to interact. We love it when you do. And I'm going to turn it over to Danny.
Well, hi everybody, and thank you for being here this afternoon. I am, as Erica said, super excited to be sharing with you some of these resources because we did, in fact, geek out over the winter and early spring months. So we are excited to be able to share some of these resources with you. But before we get started, I do want to introduce our team that's going to be talking to you this morning. Some of you might recognize these names or these faces. Some of them have been out and doing training or working with you on data privacy things. But to get started, I'm Danny Timmets. I am a educational change agent for Learn 21, but I'm also the ISTE ASCB co-chair for ETLA. I work on obviously the ISTE initiatives, and then also I work a little bit on student data privacy work. And I have been spending a lot of my time recently working on these resources collaboratively with our team. Amy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Amy Tudor. I am technically an educational change agent as of today. And my position will be changing a little bit in the near future to focus more on data privacy, but I am the student data privacy co-chair for ETLA. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Mike Porter. My title is Data Strategist or Data Privacy and Accessibility Strategist. I am a former CIO and I'm from Colorado. And why that's important is when we talk about accessibility, while we'll be talking about it from a federal level, Colorado's had state level legislation on the books. So we're a little bit ahead of the country with regard to that. So we'll share some of those experiences when we get to accessibility. Nice to meet everybody.
Thanks. So we'll give you a little heads up on why we started on this route. And we were sitting, honestly, this is one of those things that happened really organically. We were sitting in team meeting and we started talking about legislation because legislation is coming through kind of rapid fire when as it pertains to school districts and schools. So we are sitting talking about resources. We're thinking about ways that we can support our ETLA membership, and so that you guys can benefit from the conversations that we're having. And that's kind of the start of this. So you'll notice when we share these things as we move through this webinar, they are mostly founded in either something that's currently happening in schools or a hot topic, or founded in legislation and regulations that are being pushed through from the state or the federal level in order to support you all in those initiatives and get you not just compliant, but doing what's best for kids and making sure you're following the guidance of both your state and your federal legislation. So, without any further ado, because we will talk a little bit about the legislation as we go through, that happens to be my little policy geek. What scratches that itch for me? I love to talk policy, so this was right in my wheelhouse of tech and policy. So I'm excited to share. And so the first one we're talking about today, I'm going to share. Mike shared the homepage in the chat, which is etla.tools. You will notice if you go to that page today, if you go to it in 3 weeks, it may look a little bit different, but this is going to be the web address for all of our tools and resources. We are at the ground level of this project. So we are right now just building the first few, getting them out there. Currently, everything on the site that you are looking at is free to share and does not require any sort of ETLA membership. So if you know someone that you think would benefit from these resources, please feel free to share them. These are not tied to any sort of membership. In the future, that will probably adjust a little bit in the future. So there will be some things that are just ETLA, but for right now, we wanted to make sure that the things that were really pertinent to timely legislation were out there and available. So I'm going to share my screen and give you. All right, you should be seeing. So I'm on the same screen that we shared the link to, which is that etla.tools. And we're going to start, we're not going to do these in the order that they are on your screen, but we are going to start with AI policy gap analysis. We know that by July 1, all school districts, at least in Ohio, are required to have an AI policy. There's also a executive order that came out of the White House in 2025 requiring some AI work to be happening in schools. So we know this is a hot topic. We know this is something that has to happen. And one of the conversations we had was around how do districts work to comply with not just what the law says, but then match the Ohio AI policy, the model policy that came out in December. So the tool that we released was a gap analysis survey. And basically what this does, it allows you as a district or a school to note where you happen to be in the process of developing that AI policy, and then give you some action steps to help move you forward to the next steps. So in this case, I'm just going to walk through. It's pretty self-explanatory as far as how the process works, but I do want to walk you through it because I want to make sure you understand all the different steps. This is a place to put your school district. I'm just going to put Timmett's district just for my own demo purposes. And then we go through, and this would be a great opportunity for you to work with a team, your curriculum team, your tech team, your superintendent, the executive your executive team, and talk through where are we in all these different places. So we know, do we have a board adopted policy? In our district right now, we do not yet. So what is the purpose and the scope? So we go through now if we don't have that, but are we working towards that? So yeah, we know we need to build these different pieces in. Are we putting definitions in? Yeah, we know the definitions. We know those are going to be included. And so you just walk through this checklist as to where you are in this process of building the policy. You'll also notice that some of these things like acceptable use, are going to fall into other policies. So you may have some of these pieces, even though you maybe don't have that policy already pushed out into your board documents, you may already have an acceptable use for this that you can just adjust or adapt in a different set of policies in a different section of your board handbook.
If I can punctuate that, this
Yeah,
policy
please.
is really encompassing, and in order to meet the high standards that it invokes, you're going to have to work with your curriculum team, your purchasing team. There may be changes to your RFP language or your procurement
Yeah.
languages. Your data privacy practices are probably already aligned. But I think especially things around student handbooks, reflecting the academic honesty policy that might be a result of this kind of work. All that's quite time sensitive here. Here we are in late April. And
Mhm.
in order to get this ready for the school year, I would really encourage districts. You guys know this work takes time and to be prepared for September of 2026. What a great starting point.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. That's exactly right. And one thing I didn't mention in my introduction, but feels particularly pertinent in this particular work, is that in January, was installed into our Board of Education. I am a school board member at our local school district. And so I did share this with our cabinet members and our superintendent because I wanted to make sure we were moving in the right direction. For our district as we're continuing this work. So we are in the process of adopting that policy. I think we have a first read coming this month. So that's exciting. I'm excited to get my hands on it and see what it looks like. So once I've filled out the entire checklist, I can view my results. And what's great about this is it gives me kind of a readiness score. And I can see that I'm developing, we're moving forward, but we're not quite there yet. I can see a compilation of everything that we checked. So I did 4 yeses, 7 in progress, and 3 nos. And then as we move through that list, each of these action steps includes resources that will help support that step. So if we need information about purpose and scope, there are resources out on the Ohio website from the policy, from the model policy, that we can use to support this work. When I come back, there's a couple different things. Some of these are Ohio focused. I don't know if everyone here is from Ohio. So those will be certainly pertinent. And while that information is good, it may not always directly apply if you are not part of if you're not a district in Ohio. We did include some kind of more national resources from places like Teach AI. So there are some things that are just kind of general guidance that are not so super specific to Ohio. So while this is usable for anyone, it is really focused on the legislation that was pushed out for Ohio and the model policy that Ohio pushed.
We're really quite proud of the way it presents those resources in context. So if you need
Mhm.
resources in that data privacy and data protection area, it is
Yep,
a just-in-time kind of delivery of those resources.
absolutely. So that's really all there is to it. The only one other piece I would like to share with you on this one is that there is an opportunity to print this report. So at this point, you can print it out, you can save it, and then you can start working towards that. And you will notice that all those things, if you saved this, you've got your links there for you to use beyond the original or the initial uh, event when you actually create the report.
Hopefully this is mostly going to save you time, not only figuring out where you are, but then giving you those perfect resources to help you get in and tackle those things without having to
Yeah.
go and Google it and search all those
Mhm.
things yourself and, lose sight of the task. All those things are right there ready to go for you to develop those policies.
And you'll notice a suggested timeline that we think is sequential. It reflects our experiences working with school districts,
Mhm.
either as a school board member or a tech director or a curriculum specialist. We think these are reasonable and plausible. Your district certainly could move faster in some circumstances, but these are the sequences that would be logical.
As Erica mentioned at the beginning, if you have questions or you have thoughts or you think this is fantastic, by all means, throw that in the chat. We love feedback. We'd also like to answer any questions if you have them, kind of in
In
context of
context.
the app.
Right.
Yeah. So keep those coming. I'm just checking. I see no questions at this time.
Yep.
We're also going to take questions at the end if you have them. So that is all I have for the AI policy. Keeping with the legislation theme, we're going to move on to our accessibility resource, and I'm going to kind of kick this one off. We know that the federal guidelines for ADA accessibility were recently changed. Many of you may have been rushing to get to that April 24th deadline, only to right before the deadline see that we had an additional year to
Mhm.
create that to get everything up to standards.
I'm curious with our
Go
attendees,
ahead.
were you surprised by that 1 year delay that came at the
Oh,
11th hour? Maybe if you
interesting.
can respond through chat, I'm curious.
Or did you assume they would come
I,
off
Oh,
of it?
yeah,
It's
we got a
okay.
hand clap.
we got a hand clap. That means
We're
we were
excited.
relieved by it. We're
Yes.
excited by it. Sorry, I'm gonna stand up for a second. Um, so
Yeah.
Some of
yes,
us are just now recovering from Senate Bill 29 law. So now we've got another one to implement and then another one. And that's kind of where all this kind of came from. There was, like Danny said at the beginning, there's so much legislation right now that's like one right after the other. And we're
yeah.
still working on in the trenches of Senate Bill 29 and getting compliant with that in Ohio. And then working on these other things is the main goal here.
I guess what I would share, as I mentioned, I'm from Colorado, and Colorado has these laws in effect. They've been on the books now for 3 years. They also did a 1 year delay in implementation,
Mm,
which I would really encourage districts, if you haven't begun this work, don't put it off for a year. It is a year's worth of
yeah,
work, as we're going to share with you.
yeah.
But yeah, we do have a 1 year hiatus on implementation, and but please don't start for a year. We're going to present you a 1 year plan to meet these deadlines.
Yeah. So you'll notice that we have adjusted the timeline. This app actually did have the original timelines on it, and we've adjusted it to match the new current recommendation or requirements, excuse me. So on this app, basically some overview of the rule. I think this is helpful, especially if you're trying to explain it to other folks. So you may have your ADA coordinator in your district that is working and knows exactly what all this means and what is required. Having these rules and the language for them right at your fingertips here is really helpful when you're trying to get other people on board that maybe aren't as attuned to what is actually happening and what is required. So that is front and center for you to use. It also includes, we thought it was important because of the deadline change, to include some information around that deadline change to make sure that you guys had all the resources to share with folks to make sure they understood, obviously. Beyond that, we now have below that, you've got your master timeline. So basically, this is walking you through things that you can do. And as Mike said, this could be a year-long process. So knowing that you don't have to do everything by 5 days ago is great, but you do still have to do it. If you are over 50,000 community members, you do need to do that before next April. Um, if you're not sure where you fall on that timeline somehow at this point, we do have a resource for that too, where you can search your school district and get that number of community members, because that 50,000 is how many people are in your jurisdiction and not how many people your school district serves,
Kind
student
of a good,
wise.
yeah, kind of good rule of thumb there is take your student population and times it by 4 or 5, and that's your community size. But there's a tool to get you that exact information.
Yeah.
Um, I, Ohio districts, we're really thinking about you. You have this AI policy to be implemented. There's a cybersecurity policy to be implemented, and of course, there's this
Mhm.
federal policy concurrent to that. So I hope this represents a good faith effort to give you a toolkit that acknowledges the work that you have in front of you.
All right. So basically, this just tells you all the things that you need to be doing in the first weeks, the first months, so that you get an overview of what that might look like. And then it breaks it down. So across the top, you've got tabs that break it down into action steps. So now we can start talking. Okay, I need to build my team. What does that look like? And here's some resources to help you get those people, the right people in the right places. It also is tagged, each of these items is tagged with the timeline when it needs to happen and who needs to be in charge of it. So as you're starting to designate who's going to be doing what, this is a really great place to start. And you can start looking, okay, well, in the first month or the first weeks, I need to be doing these things. So whenever you're going to start that timeline, start mapping that out and create that calendar for yourself and your team so that you know exactly who's going to be in charge of what and when those pieces are going to be due.
And this reflects suggested best practices as well as experience from Colorado, who again has gone through this for a couple of years. So hopefully it reflects real world experience and presents it to you in a manner that you can implement in your district.
And you'll notice it goes all the way through each of those action steps from that first page and does but kind of follows that same format. The exception tab gives you some exceptions that are related to this, but it also makes sure that you understand what has to comply and what does not, what might be exempt. This is another great page to share with your kind of broader community to make sure that especially your teachers know what needs to be included, what items need to be included for student documentation and all that, all those other details that may get overlooked once the main things, the web, your website, your your hiring forms, all those things are covered. There are other things that still need to be on that list.
Board documents are a high priority.
Mhm.
Minutes and agendas.
Absolutely. Mike, do you want to talk about vendor management?
Yeah, we know this is going to push on vendors a little bit. We we provide to you some RFP language that comes from a variety of sources, including actual Colorado districts. We encourage you to partner with your procurement department, such whomever they may be, business practices, to audit existing vendors. We have some RFP language that you literally can copy and paste and put it into your future RFPs. As Danny's sharing, this is a all hands on deck kind of effort. This cannot solely be an IT effort, and we have suggested roles as a resource, but for your business folks, here's some plug and play language on future contracts, existing contracts, and it's not just the content you provide, but it's also the content you procure. So there's some resources for you there.
This
I
might be
will.
my favorite. Oh, go
Okay.
ahead, Amy.
I was going to say,
Sorry.
I
No,
will
go.
add to this with the vendor piece. We're very lucky to have Mike and with the work that they're doing in Colorado because us in Ohio will also benefit from that work as their ETLA. We're all working together, and we're helping determine which of those vendors are already compliant with these new laws, or they're not new, but the ones that are in state laws in Colorado. We'll be able to know which ones are already compliant and which ones are not. So that'll be very
Yeah,
helpful in picking vendors.
absolutely. This might be my favorite page of this, even though it's not the meat and potatoes. It's great because what it does is we called it a teacher checklist. It's really an anybody checklist, but really it's to help those folks that are just looking for quick answers to whether their stuff is compliant or not, and helps to create that kind of mental checklist by creating an actual checklist to start. So things like, is the contrast there? Is the text large enough? And the piece I love about it is it includes, if you're not sure, here's a link to a contrast checker that you can use. If you're not sure if it's accessible, here's some information on how to make your links accessible. So again, pairing the requirement with a resource that helps to make it happen is really important here. So this is just a great way to start people down the path of building that accessible content, especially as people are building new items. It's important to give them some of these resources so that they understand that when you put something on the LMS, when you create something to send to parents, all of that needs to be accessible. And here's some ways to make sure it is.
Every resource in this list is free and easily available.
Yeah.
You won't run into a paywall or
Yeah.
a paid tool.
Yeah. Good. That's a great point. That was pretty important to us to make sure that you guys could access everything. Finally, we have a resources page, and this is just a ton of links about the information. So if you are looking for support documentation or you're looking for guidance documentation from other folks that are doing this work, this is a great place where we've pulled all those things that are kind of embedded throughout the tool. A great place for you to grab them all in one place under their topic. So if you're looking for those testing tools that we're on that teacher checklist, they're all right here so that you have access to them in one quick place.
And Danny, if you could go up just a little bit, there's
I sure can.
right there. That's what we're looking for. So this is our approach. This is our suggested approach based upon our collective experiences. But your
Mhm.
different, your district is different, of course. So what you can do is take our work and much like you saw with the AI tool, is make it your own, retimeline it, reassign roles, reassign priorities as makes sense. Maybe some of this you've tackled, maybe some of this is still to be
Mhm.
done. It takes our work and lets you personalize it to your district and your experience and
Mhm.
still give the collective experience of ETLA, but allow you to modify it.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Are there any questions on that app? Okay. If you have them, just put them in the chat. We'll come back to it. Amy, do you want to start with balanced screen time research or do you want to do parent
I'm
screen time
actually going to
training
talk about the
first?
research first, so that then it kind
Okay.
of leads into why. And
Perfect.
obviously, if you've been following the news at all lately, this has been a hot topic across everywhere, and states are, trying to come up with legislature and, about this balanced screen time in education, because there is a movement to remove screens from educational spaces, all screens, which we know isn't best practice. It's not just about the screens, it's how the screens are used. And we want to get that voice out there. And we figured sharing this resource with you guys helps you guys talk to your school communities, talk to your parents, talk to anybody on how to get the correct information, make sure that we're making educated and correct decisions. So this is a balanced screen time in K-12 education, and like kind of like a resource kit. So basically, this overview just kind of shows this. There are 16 different resources that are included, and 16 states, because that's what's currently has legislation on screen time. That doesn't mean there aren't more coming. You know how we go. Once one state starts doing legislation, many other states hop on. So currently, 16 states. The most recent sources are from 2026. And then there are four core themes that we're kind of going to show throughout this. So I'm going to start first with the research library, because again, knowledge is power. Think a lot of people like to talk about what they think or what they think they know. We really want to give the information, the correct information, so you know and are correct on the information and able to relay that information. So at the top here, it has ways to filter. There's different topics that you can look at, like mental health, policy and advocacy. And then you can look at what source type you like. Like, let's say I want to read a commentary or I want to read an academic review. And then they will give you those resources where then you can go in and you can pick as many as you want, drop down, and then it will show the source and why it matters. And will kind of give some information, and the source is linked there too. So you can go through and read that article to gain that knowledge. But I like at the beginning how it kind of gives you a summary, because let's be honest, all of us don't have time to read millions of articles. And even though they're very interesting, this kind of gives you a summary and why it matters. So you can share it with whoever needs to see it and become informed on these different things that are happening across the United States related to screen time. That one's being a little slow, but there you go. So if you want to go in, you're like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to read the full thing. You can go in and read that and read each one of the articles that are listed. Perfect. So that is basically the research. The next is the state legislation. I've seen different versions of this. I personally think ours is the best. because it not only tells what legislation is, like what it is, but it also you can filter this screen time by state. Obviously, it has it listed by state, but you could also look at it by screen time, like what it's about. Some of them are about parental control, how much the parents have a say about an ed tech policy. So you can kind of look and see what specific filters are available. And then let's say, let's just go to a state. Let's look at all bills. Perfect. And then let's go to anyone. Let's go to Rhode Island. Perfect. And there you can look and see what those legislation that are either in committee and where they are in the process, because sometimes they're maybe just in committee right now. And so we can advocate for different things for maybe possible change. So this isn't just specific to Ohio. We actually don't in Ohio have any balanced screen time laws yet. But you can actually click on this for if you were there you go, Rhode Island, and you can look at the specific bill here and its proposed language. Perfect. Thank you. And then other things, like there's another one there that they have, there it is. Okay, thank you, Danny. And here's the Safe School Technology Act. So it links to each one of these things so you can really get educated on these different laws that possibly are coming into effect in your state. Anything else to add, Mike or Danny?
I don't think so. The only thing I was going to say is this is while this Amy said that this is updated as of 2026, it's actually updated as of like a week and a half ago. So this
Oh,
is actually very current, and we've been trying to update it every couple of weeks.
which
So
is a challenge because things are always
because things
changing,
are
right?
moving, right?
Yes, but we're trying to keep it as up to date as possible, and so that's a really good way to keep track on what's going on in your state. Next is the key themes, those four core themes that we talked about at the beginning. And these are things that you might see and that you want to be able to know about, like design and purpose, matter more than screen time minutes. Because again, it's not the technology itself, it's how the technology is being used in terms of minutes. So there's all of these information in the takeaway that you can quickly take away and have as a conversational piece with somebody that you're trying to have the conversation with that needs to know this information. So summarizes and gives you a good takeaway for that.
Speaking of having conversations in our community,
Yes, that's the next
Amy has
segue.
another one.
I do, another one, because as we know, our technology leaders are tasked with so many things, right? So this is a thing that we can get parent advocates because I'm sure it's a buzz in your school. We've been talking a lot. I've had lots of people talk to me in the district that I'm a school that I'm in about screen time specifically. So we're going to show you a resource that you can use that's a parent education and screen time training. This is a plug and play
Yeah.
plan that you can show your school community to educate parents and other community members on really what's happening with screens and the district technology and use. So it starts out and it makes it in three different sessions. And you can see those listed right there, 1, 2, 3, the complimentary sessions. Then you can decide down at the bottom if you want to do it all in one night and just power through it, or if you'd like to do it as standalone sessions, because they are very different topics, because the student panel is different, obviously, than the district technology use and security. So you might want to say, you know what, we want to pick 30 or 40 minutes 3 times to have those standalone sessions, but there's option A if you want to do it all in one night, or option B if you would like to do this training in 3 different sessions. So if you want to show the sessions, Danny. Perfect. So within there, whether you're doing them all in one time or you're splitting them over 3 different things, they still have a general key ideas to address. And you can see those listed here. I'm not going to read them to you, but it's just the general idea of what the things that will be discussed. And we will give you a plan, don't worry. But this is just the general overview. If you're like talking to your school community, like your stakeholders, if you will, in your school. I couldn't lost my word for a second. Your stakeholders, you'd say these are the things that we're going to cover: technology use and for learning. We're going to talk about app tool and selection. We're going to talk about student data privacy. So these are just the big pictures that we will dive into in the training. So that's the first session. Session two, which is really important, the student panel, because as we know, students should have a say, and we want them to have a say on how this is going to affect them. So there's a student panel and youth voice here in this next in session two. So there's just some questions to ask, and again with a panel, and there's a guide for whoever is running or facilitating that panelist of students. So that's really helpful. Again, it's plug and play, so you don't have to do a lot of this thinking. You can modify it for whatever you need, take things out or subtract. We also thought we might want to give you more than less.
Mhm.
So you can always modify whatever you want to fit your needs.
Having run through these parent kind of nights, let me share that those student panels are always the highlight of the evening. And as we get review from our community and they say, what are your major takeaways? They say how smart the kids are and how informed they are. And it's really powerful for kids to share their self-regulation strategies or the areas where they want help from parents and schools around setting limits and being healthy and balanced. Um, so while it does take some prep work to get the right students to the table and to have great representation and to empower them to speak to an anonymous audience of adults, it's so worth it. It is really good and encourage you to consider that step.
Absolutely. And then the third session is obviously the parent conversation about, all the things that we've heard a lot of things about managing screen time or on screens too much. What are we going to say to that? Boundaries and routine, homework and devices, all of those type of things will be covered in the parent to parent conversation. And then there's some facilitation guidance down there as well. On the next tab, there's a very cool checklist. So as you're going through and you're making sure, because there's a lot of work that has to go into, and it's well worth it, but there's a lot of work that's going to go into planning something like this. So we want to make sure that it's easy and ready to go. You can say, okay, I've done this thing, I've done this thing. Oh, I still need to do this. So even all the way planned up to the day of the event, how you would make sure that this is going to go as seamlessly as possible in your district to have a good parent, a good screen time parent training outcome. And then the
And
resources. Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Mike. Sorry.
I was just gonna, no, you can do this on $0. This is really, it represents some time effort, not to minimize that or diminish the effort that it's required. It'll take some hours to prep for it, but there's no costs involved in the goodwill and the information you provide your community. It's worth it many, many times over.
Definitely a return on investment, huh, Mike?
Absolutely.
The resource link is amazing as well. It's just basically where we got a lot of this information that you can look at. But again, what we don't want to do, everybody can go to the COSIN website and look up things or, Common Sense Media. We tried to take those resources and do that work for you to create what we did. But there's resources that you really can get in and dive deeper into these resources, especially like COSIN and Common Sense Media. You can read all the reports
mhm.
there, or they're all linked there.
And if I could just highlight those for a minute, Amy, where we're
Yep.
showing now, we all know one night is great and it starts a conversation and it gets the ball rolling and it's a opportunity to exchange what a district is doing with parents and hear from parents. But if it doesn't live past that evening, you've not hit the fullness of your possibilities or opportunities. So what we have for parents are some really great sentence starters or conversation starters. We, my former district, literally printed it out and handed it to parents for as an exit ticket, and we encouraged them to put it in the car with their kids and hopefully not drive and read it at the same time. But when they're in the car, we call them carpool conversations to pick it up and say, tell me what games you're playing this week. What do you like about this game? Is there something making you nervous about this game? And we heard from parents that 6 months after the event, they had held on to that resource. They were continuing to use it and just became part and parcel of how families communicated about this very complicated world of technology in the 21st century. They're kiddos.
Perfect. Danny, can you show also where they can, there it is, the make a copy of the complete guide? Because of course, all that was nice and pretty, but this is the actual planning document, much like the document we showed you just a minute ago. It's got everything planned out from questions that you will ask how you would set things up. Again, you can feel free to use it and modify it however you see fit in your district or use it as is. It's pretty well planned, and Mike had a big hand in this, being able to do this in Colorado and give us good input on what did work in the district that he was in. So thank you, Mike. But again, feel free to modify it however you see fit.
Yeah, that's why we made it copyable, because we knew that this was, while it was good and complete, we knew that everyone's going to have to match their own culture and their buildings and their districts. So by all means, take this and make it your own.
And I did not see any questions in the chat while I was talking, but if you think of questions later, you can always email us. But if you still have questions even still, go ahead and put them in the chat. We can answer them as well.
Our last resource is going to be a quick one. It is an agentic AI skills crosswalk. We know that AI is coming, and we don't necessarily want to ban AI across the board. We want to teach students how to work with it ethically, responsibly, and effectively. So this is based on an article that Kevin Gantos wrote in our Bytes and Insights newsletter a few weeks ago. If you're interested in that article, please make sure, one, that you're signed up for our Bytes and Insights newsletter on our website, learn21.org, and then click on the Bytes and Insights link. And two, you can email us at ETLA, email Erica at ETLA, and she will be able to get you a copy of that original article so you can see kind of the companion piece to this app. And really what this is looking at the skills that are required to successfully use agentic AI and applying them to where they actually live in the current standards, Common Core, so that you can see that some of these skills are not things that are just brand new because AI is here. They're things that we've been doing in our classrooms over time. So you can explore. This is a fun one just to explore. And basically you can explore it by the 9 skills. And you'll see the skills come from all the way from task decomposition to system coordination. So kind of running the full gamut of taking things apart and putting them together. And then we also have it broken by grade band. So you can view things by grade band here. So if you are a teacher or a staff member working with grades 6 through 8, here's what task decomposition might look like in that middle school grade band. So you can see task decomposition doesn't mean we're always working in AI. It means we're giving them opportunities to analyze constraints of relationships and considering analog problems and breaking those problems apart in math. Here's how they look. Here's how it looks in ELA. Here's how it looks in science. Here's how it looks in social studies. And this is not meant to be full on lesson plans. It's meant to be like lesson sparks so that teachers start to realize that as we're working through this process of introducing AI, we are drawing comparisons to things we're already doing in an analog world and then applying them to an agentic AI space. So this is a really fun one. I love that it's grade specific and it gives you lots of different tasks. If I explore by skill, I didn't show this, but if I explore by skill, I still can go by grade level here and see those skills broken up. But this is a great view for this. So if you want to see it across from, all the way from K to 12, what this skill might look like across an entire school lifetime, if you will, this is a great place to start. So, like I said, this is a short one, but it's a good one to share and kind of spark some idea when it comes to lessons and lesson plans. If you want to know more about this agentic AI stuff, I know Erica teased it early on, but we will be doing Kevin's going to do a webinar on May 12th. So be sure to sign up for that one too. That is the end of the current resources we have. I will tell you before we hop off here that we have some other ones already in the works. So be on the lookout for updates with as far as student data privacy is coming, and media literacy is already built. We're just vetting resources right now, so that's on its way. So keeping an eye out for some of those new ones as they come out. We would love your engagement. If by some chance you are not an Ohio district and you would like to see something that is specifically with the AI policy that's not Ohio specific, or if you have something working in your state that you would like us to look at and look to build a resource for, please reach out to us. We would love to help you with that. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we think these things are really super useful. So we're happy to help and customize to what you need. So with that, I will turn it back over. Unless Amy or Mike, do you have anything else you wanted to share?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Super. Then I will turn it back over to Erica to
All right.
close us out.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your time and you being here. You do have a quick question here from Jim. Are you
Oh,
adding the cybersecurity toolkit to your resource listing? And yes, once it's completed, it will go
yeah.
there.
It's in the
Okay.
works currently. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
coming.
We'll let you know as soon as it's out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll probably be in Bytes and Insights
Yeah.
or in
Yes, for sure.
Vibe if you're an ETLA member.
And again,
Um,
feel free to share these resources, please. Sorry, Erica, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah, feel free to share them, as Amy said. I also was going to share too, we talked a lot about legislation during this session. And we also wanted to mention Stacey Hawthorne is here. She's listening in. She is currently in Washington, D.C. for Advocacy Day. So she is actually talking to Ohio senators and representatives about the things that we mentioned. So that's really great, important work. And if you're interested in EdTech advocacy, one way to get involved in that is through CETA, COAST, and ISTE, they all kind of work together for Advocacy Day. So if you're curious about it, go to one of those websites. There's information. I know Danny participated in it
Mhm.
last year
Mhm.
too. That's the way to do it, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
You're good. She was reading the chat too. I
I was reading the
recognized what
chat.
was
Yes.
happening. Um, and so yeah, all of the tools are available already today that we went over. So you can use that
Yep.
etla.tools to get there.
Mhm.
Open to the public and free, as Mike said. And again, if you have any questions about tools, if you have questions, if it's not working for you, like someone is saying it's being blocked right now by their ITC for some reason, please reach out to us. Literally, you can reach all of us. Our first name at learn21.org will get you to any of our inboxes. You're welcome to reach out and let us know. We can all help you figure out what's going on, get those resources to you as well. But if you have questions, or the other thing, if you have tools that you think would be really helpful for
Yeah.
the upcoming school year, if there's something that is happening in your school, you know, other colleagues are going through something similar, having a tool like this for a different area would be helpful for you in the next school year, let us know. Send that information along. We want to geek out this summer too and build more tools.
For sure.
It gives us life, it gives us meaning. So let us know. We're happy to work with you and create those things as well.
Definitely.
And with that, if please keep in touch, visit our website at techleadersalliance.org for upcoming webinars, resources, information. And then this webinar too will be posted to our YouTube page for members. So if you just loved hearing us talk about the resources and want to see how something's used again, you can always revisit it there. But thank you all so
Absolutely.
much for your time. Thank you to the team for your hard work and presenting everything too. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.